CABE Conference 2023. I'm so excited. There's like 6,000 people here, and you have a really important session coming up this afternoon. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. Well, primero que nada, gracias por la invitación, David. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited that we're finally in person. So after this, I'm actually going to be headed over to my first session from the conference. It's at 1 p.m. and it's going to be focused on the amplification of queer youth in the dual language program. Porque tú sabes that especially right now in our country, this is one of the issues that really needs to be chatted about because queer youth and their families are under attack in this country. And so I feel like it's going to be a very important conversation. Más aparte, I love that you all chose testimonios as the foundation of our work during this conference, because I'm going to be using my book, Boys Don't Cry, Los Niños No Lloran, available in English and in Spanish with Spanglish, as a way to give foundation to that session. So not only are we going to be talking about the strategies that we can leverage to create a truly inclusive space, pero también va a haber telenovela acting, because, you know, le tenemos que echar telenovela también.
That sounds really exciting. So tell us about social cultural competence. Like, why does this matter with the topic that you're talking about?
Sure. So one of the things that happens is that most people focus on the first two goals of dual language, bilingualism and biliteracy and grade level academic achievement, but rarely do we truly focus on the most important goal of dual language, which is sociocultural competence. Sociocultural competence quiere decir que vemos las similitudes, vemos las diferencias, pero vemos ambas como oportunidades de conectar. We see the similar, we see the different in each other, but we see both as a way to connect. And a lot of people think that sociocultural competence is about having like an event for Black History Month or for Hispanic Heritage Month, or we have this one night where the families bring food. Pues aplauso, you're like literally at the entry point, but that is actually not equity and social justice work. Equity and social justice work that is not de los dientes pa' fuera, como dice mi mamá, that is not performative, happens every single day with every single lesson that we facilitate. That is causing desmadre en el nombre de equidad and social justice, as our team likes to refer to it.
So tell us more how educators can contribute to this social cultural competence.
Sure. So when we're lesson planning, we usually feel very comfortable planning for the content learning target. That is the what. And we feel comfortable with it because it's unpacking the standards, ¿verdad? That's what we usually have done. The language learning target, we feel a little bit comfortable with. That's the how the students will access and interact with the grade level standards using the 4+1, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and the one that we always forget, metalinguistic awareness, the ability to make those connections among the languages in the students' one linguistic repertoire. Pero falta la meta de la cultura. The culture learning target is the why. It gives context to the content and the language learning target. And there are 4 ways that we can use every single day to chip away at systems of oppression through every lesson we design. We can amplify the voices of marginalized communities. We can connect to the students and the world beyond the classroom walls. We can focus on cross-linguistic connections. And the 4th way to cause this madre is to make sure that kids understand that there is no hierarchy between language. Pos is as gorgeous as pues. Sup is as gorgeous as how do you do. And planching is as good as planchando and ironing. So those are the 4 ways to plan for a culture learning target.
Wow, that's really interesting. So we talked a little bit about educators, what they can do in their classroom. What can families do at home? How can we engage our parents to ensure that they're providing for those needs that our students have?
Sure. So I love that your title is all about supporting family and community, because one of the things that we have to remember, si las familias no están apoyando el programa dual, if they don't own the goals of dual language, then we've not done our job. Because we should be able to walk into any dual language school and ask a family, oye, David, me contaron que tu hija está en un programa dual. ¿Cuáles son las 3 metas? Like, the family should be able to talk about sociocultural competence, translanguaging, bilingualism, and biliteracy. And if we've not done that as a school, as a district, then it becomes very difficult for the family to fully support their child's participation in a dual language programming. Ya te di más trabajo, ¿eh? Ándale. Capacitación. I know that CABE is doing that work, so thank you so much for really leading in that direction.
Absolutely. And CABE is just very excited about moving diversity, equity, and inclusion work forward and making sure that we capture voices and testimonials, which is what our theme is all about. So what is the call to action that we can tell our viewers? All right, we've heard these great ideas. What can we tell our viewers? We need your help. How can they help?
So 2 things that I would focus on. Number 1, you have to amplify the voices of marginalized communities as part of sociocultural competence work. Si no estamos haciendo eso, then we really don't have dual language. Because what good is it if our kids are bilingual and biliterate, have grade level of academic achievement in both languages, if they are not good, kind-hearted people willing to leverage their privilege in service of others? No manches. If we don't have that, then we have nothing, because a child can be bilingual and still be a hot mess. And so we have to ensure that kids have the tools to actually engage in that work from now and the rest of their lives. I shared with you right before we began, like, it's rare. Most language researchers are still white, heterosexual men. And we love our white, heterosexual male colleagues. But you also have to get the hell out of the way so that others can also find voice in a space that has always belonged to you. As an openly queer, brown Spanglish speaking language researcher, pienso que es lo que tengo que hacer, hablar y compartir mi testimonio, because if I don't step into that space, then I'm not disrupting a space that was really conceptualized to exclude us. And so es parte del trabajo. And then number 2, I don't know what's going on in California, but here's the chisme. A lot of schools have decided that we're going to separate the languages in the program languages fully, and they're never going to come together, which is craziness. As one of the co-authors of the guiding principles in program structure, we clearly talk about the fact that you do separate the program languages. But in instruction, we talk about the fact that you do that while also strategically bringing the 2 languages together. Pero David, there's teachers that are still instructed to put signs outside of their door. En esta clase se habla solo en español. In this class, we only speak in English. Cálmate! That's linguistic oppression. Opresor lingüístico, opresora lingüística. So we have to embrace translanguaging research. And luckily, tomorrow at 10:30, I'm going to be facilitating a session here at CABE on how do we plan for those cross-linguistic connections. Connected to that, a lot of schools have decided that one content area is going to be taught only in one language for an extended period of time. And then we call that biliteracy instruction. No, como de que qué? Like, the kids have to be making those cross-linguistic connections and transferring what they learned from one language to the other. So those are the 2 big things that I would want to share.
Absolutely. I think that's such a great point, because when we were talking earlier, yo también hablo español, I think in both languages, and depending on the context, sometimes I might think in Spanish first, or I might think in English first, and for a teacher to tell me only one language, that impairs my own thinking.
Claro, opresión lingüística, and it doesn't mean that the kids don't practice languaging in English and practice languaging in Spanish or in Mandarin. They do.
Right.
But we can do that without linguistically being oppressive. That's the key, pero a veces se nos olvida. So if your language allocation plan has you teaching a content area for extended periods of time, we need to revisit that language allocation plan, porque estamos abrazando la opresión lingüística. No digan que no les dije. Diles, David, diles.
Él lo está diciendo aquí mismo. Jose, earlier you talked about the intersectionality of being queer, about being brown. I think you just have so many intersectionalities. Can you share with us a little bit about how that has formed who you are today and your own testimony about that?
Sure. I mean, without getting too emotional, David, I knew from the moment that I walked into the school building at the age of 5 that whatever I was and the language I spoke wasn't what was wanted or what was needed in schools. The fact that I languaged in Spanish, horror. The fact that I was a queer child, horror. And so it was very difficult for me and for so many kids that are part of the LGBTQ2+ community to really see value and worth in who they are. And as there are over 250 anti-LGBTQ+ bills that are being proposed in state legislatures all over this country at this moment, it is imperative that we take a stand. Because if you think that you are somebody that is an ally simply because you retweet something, that is not it. If you are and identify as heterosexual and you are not leveraging that heteronormative privilege in order to dismantle the systems that are oppressing queer youth, queer educators, and the queer community at large, then you are as culpable for the oppression of that community. I said it. Ándale, y si te dolió, pues que te duela. Sana, sana, colita de rana.
That's what my mom used to always say.
Soy bien sassy, David. Yo soy muy sassy.
I hear. Jose, how long have you been coming to CABE conferences?
Oh my God, like 8 or 9 years. I've been doing this for about 8 or 9 years at the national and international levels. Prior to that, I was a teacher, an assistant principal, a district leader. I'm one of those weird educators. I've served at the elementary, middle school, and high school levels. I've taught at the university level as well. So uno de esos raros, I've done it all. And so I'm so thrilled that CABE has always been so supportive of our message. I love CABE, and that's why I come every year.
What do you think about CABE this year? I mean, we were closed since 2019, or rather 2019 was the last time we had a conference. We had to have virtual conferences between then, and now we're all together again. What do you think about that?
Me siento super wow. I mean, I love actually interacting with people in person. I feel like we keep in touch via social media, and we've done the virtual conferences, pero como que hay algo que falta, ese sazón, ese tajín that you feel when you're actually in front of people and interacting with and learning alongside the people that you serve.
Yes, such a wonderful place to come together, to meet people, to create ideas, to advance new ideas, and that call to action, we have work to do.
Ándale.
I want to thank you for taking some time and sharing with us. I know that you have a session to get to, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I'm sure lots of people are looking forward to seeing it too. Any closing thoughts that you have?
Acuérdense, dual language isn't for everyone. Dual language is reparation for the linguistic oppression we have inflicted upon culturally and linguistically diverse student communities. And if you are not willing and or ready to cause this madre in the name of equidad and social justice, that's okay. We can still be Facebook friends, but get the hell out of the way so that someone can come in and do the work that is required as the foundation of dual language. Gracias por todo lo que hacen. Gracias por abogar por nuestros estudiantes. Y ya saben dónde me pueden encontrar, on social media.
Gracias, Jose. I look forward to seeing your session.
No, gracias a ti. Gracias. Te lo agradezco, David. Adiós, everybody.
Bye-bye.